Hi, it's Mrs. Moret with help on today's assignment, Unit 3, Lesson 8, Practice Problems, page 60, numbers 1 through 6. So to start, all the equations for which -3 is a solution, I'm just going to plug -3 in for x and see if I get a true statement. So for the first one, -3 squared, that equals 9. So -3 is a solution for A. On B, I already tried -3 squared. It equals +9, not -9, so it's not a solution for B. For C, I'm going to plug in -3. -3 to the third is equal to -27. Because if you think about it, you're multiplying -3. So we would get +9 and then multiply it by -3 again, and you get -27. So it's not equal, or it's not a solution for C, but it is for D. And then -x squared. So -3 squared. Okay, so -3 squared is equal to +9. So this would be from that negative in front, and then -3 times -3 is +9. So altogether, this is -9. So no for E. And then for F, the opposite of x squared. Okay, so negative from the equation, and then the -3 is the x value. So that's really what that is asking us. Well, these two negatives make the 3 positive, so we're really looking at this. And since 3 squared is 9, then F is an equation for which -3 is a solution. All right, on number 2, we're going to do some estimating using the graph. So the cubed root of x is equal to 2. So here's 2, and it crosses right there. And I would say, I don't know. Well, I know the answer is 8 because 2 to the third is equal to 8, but I can see, oh yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's kind of close to 10. I'm going to write x is about 8. If I follow this down to the axis. I mean, it's counting by 30, so it's really hard to judge too well. Next, the cubed root of x equals -4.5. So -4.5. So that's like halfway through here. That lands right there at -90 for x. Again, because I'm using the graph to estimate, that's why I'm using the about symbols. We're going to actually find the solutions in part B. And then for the third one, the cubed root of x is equal to 3.75. 3.75 is about here. It intersects right here. Follow that down. I don't know, 50 maybe? So somewhere between 30 and 60. Looks like it's about 2/3 of the way. All right, now we're going to use the meaning of cube roots to find the exact solutions to all 3 equations. So for each of these equations, because a cubed root of x, we're going to find the exact answer by cubing, raising to the third power each side of the equation. So get my calculator ready. All right, so for the first one, x is equal to 2 to the third, which I already know is 8. For the second one, x is equal to -4.5 to the third. So -4.5 raised to the third, -91.125. And for the third one, 3.75. So x is equal to 3.75 to the third, and 3.75 to the third, 52.734375. All right. So those are the exact answers. Okay, next on our list, which are the solutions to the equation x to the third is equal to negative 125. So one thing we learned today is that every positive number, or every number, positive or negative, has exactly one cubed root. So there's only going to be one solution to this, because x will equal the cubed root of negative 125. Okay, and the cubed root of negative 125, if I didn't know what it was, I would just use my calculator. Under the math option, option 4 is cubed root. So I can just hit 4 and the cubed root will show up. And negative 125 was the value we're trying to find. So the cubed root of negative 125 is negative 5, which makes sense because negative 5 to the third equals negative 125. Okay, so negative 5 is the only solution. All right, on the back is a review of exponent rules. All right, so starting here, the 16 is in the denominator, so I know my exponent's going to be negative. And because this is just 16 to the first, the exponent is negative 1. 16 to the negative 3/4 here. Sorry, I was just reading the directions. 16 to the negative 3/4 here tells me it's going to be 1 over. And then that gets rid of the negative. And then with an exponent of 3/4, the fourth root of 16 to the third. So just remembering the placement of those values. This one's a little bit tricky, which is why I was reading the directions. I happen to know that 4 is equal to the square root of 16. Okay, so for that reason, I would say I could also write this as 1 over 16 to the 1/2, since that means the square root of 16. And then to write it as a power of 16, I'm just going to make the 1/2 exponent negative. So 16 to the negative 1/2. All right, and then moving on, 16 to the negative 1/4. Again, because it's negative, we're looking at a fraction. The fourth root of 16. And I could put a little 1 exponent, like the fourth root of 16 to the first, but I don't need a 1 there because of the fact that it's a 1. And then finally, this must be 16 to the 0, right? Because any base to the power of 0 is equal to 1. Okay, the next two problems are a little bit of a review of lesson 6 and 7. So first, which are the equations or solutions to the equation the square root of x equals negative 8? And because the square root of x is a positive value and this is a negative value, this equation has no solution. All right, and then we're going to solve these last three. And we'll use some of those same ideas because sometimes we'll get an answer that is no solution. So to solve these equations, we're going to isolate x squared and then square root. So we'll isolate the x squared by subtracting the 6. So I have x squared is equal to 49, which means x is equal to the positive and negative square root of 49. So just remember, x squared graphs look like this. So there's always the possibility of having two solutions, of having one solution, and of having no solution. Just depends on where your value crosses the graph. So this one has two solutions, positive and negative 7. All right, on the next one, I'm going to subtract the 16 from both sides to isolate the x squared. And I'm at a point now where I would also say no solution because x squared is going to end up being positive and this is already negative. So whether we have a positive or a negative value for x, once you square it, it will be positive. So it can't be equal to a negative number. So no solution here. And then finally for c, x squared minus 3.25 equals 21.75. We're going to add 3.25 to both sides. And we get x squared equals 25. So it's going to be a time where it's going to cross in two places. X equals the positive and negative square root of 25. So x equals positive and negative 5. And that is the end of the assignment. So I hope that that was helpful.